Bitch Goddess, chapter 31. Gary was keen for me to move into the house, and I soon found out why. He was an altruist, but altruism has its limits, and his present roommates were pushing those limits. To his mind, they were not a balanced and stable mix. The good news was one of the actors had left. 1 up, 2 to go, though he'd never say that. The 2 remaining actors are chronically on the verge of success. Rudy was as unkind as he would get, and probably always will be, might make the cut on a bad day. Usually their duplicity and mounting debts evoke little more than sarcasm. It was hard to believe that Gary himself was also a guest. Greg, the owner of the Spirit Level, was also the owner of the house. Gary, I reminded myself, lived in Colorado, but being a take-charge type, he called the shots on all major issues, and Greg was relieved to defer to him. Poor old Greg wore his insecurities like a hair shirt, and though he must have lamented that the actors walked all over him, he never took a stand against them. Gary filled me in bit by bit on Greg's background. We met as trainee bankers and both studied to become stockbrokers. I had a lot of luck and got my license, then went on to study law. Greg never left the bank. We remained friends, and I stay here at his place whenever I'm in Vancouver, now that my parents are gone. Greg seems to appreciate my help around the house. Help around the house, an understatement if ever there was one. Gary was supportive of Greg in the most intense big brother way. Greg looked up to him and had given him a hand with the cabin he built in Aspen. Gary was his guru in every sense of the word. His arrivals kept the boat afloat. His departures must have prompted Greg's worst sinking feeling. While in town, Gary dabbled in a small way and strictly for fun in the highly speculative Vancouver stock market. Almost out of character for him, but better recreation than the horses. Greg labored on in the same old position, in the same old bank. He was tall, slightly stooped, and had a mild stutter. Self-victimization, if such a word exists, he had turned into an art form, a comfortable, predictable state of learned helplessness. The actors bullied him unmercifully. Had he wanted to, he could have kicked them out, but he hadn't, and they knew he wouldn't. The 2 remaining actors were Bryn and Jude. Bryn, early 20s, was too confident for his own good, outwardly anyway. He had very little stage experience and 0 in film where he wanted to be. His hang-up was that he grew up in a mining town in Wales. Nothing wrong with that, he would say, but there was everything wrong with that. Bryn was captive of his narcissism and needed constant admiration. His asset was his looks, long fair hair and soft, sleepy blue eyes. What he lacked were the large, pronounced features that worked well for film. Excuse me. He was vague about his background, but demons lurked for sure. He spoke as one who had escaped, maybe from a family situation. Perhaps his choice of career had met with criticism, or worse, ridicule. He'd had a small part, little more than an extra, in a film being shot in Vancouver. It starred some big names with whom he socialized, which bled off what little earnings he had. Bryn's character was a carpenter with a success parallel to our real-life carpentry. He only had 1 scene in the film, and this was axed in the final cut for whatever reason, probably because Bryn didn't look the part. Too refined, no rough edges. Baggy pants and looking disheveled might have saved the day. Instead, he had gone for cool. At least he still got paid, union rates, but that was little consolation. Jude, the other actor, real name Cyril, faced a whole different set of challenges. Claimed to be 34, was older without doubt. Age jokes didn't go over at all well. He had bags under his eyes, tired or not. Grecian formula found in plain wrapper in bathroom cabinet, along with filler sand, fortifies the over 40s. The evidence read like a police report. Jude, the dude, he never warmed to that either, even when told Oscar Wilde coined the word, was a compulsive name dropper. He claimed to have rubbed shoulders with many of the UK greats. Sir Laurence Olivier was Larry, Michael Caine, Mikey, Anecdotal material needs to be consistent. Jude's wasn't. My fleeting visits to Pinewood confirmed his stories were unlikely or the timelines askew. It would have been cruel to challenge him. His phantom history was his support system. He gave the impression that he was regularly employed. In fact, according to Greg, his only regular employment was as Santa at Woodward's each Christmas. A lot of downtime in that career path. He did get the occasional part in local, mainly amateur productions when they needed an older character. Greg, in a daring breakaway from banking activities, had a one-line part in a student production of The Importance of Being Earnest. Jude first lectured him on how to act, then after the event lambasted his performance. Pretty good for a banker would have sufficed. But Jude castigated every aspect of the production with the vitriol of a professional critic, which he was not. Who was Jude to judge anyway? I later attended one of his performances, and my silence must have told the others I didn't think Jude could act to save his life. A strain, but I never did let on.